From the Outreach Studios at the College of Earth and Mineral Sciences at Penn State, this is Weather World.
Tis the season. Yes, Old Man Winter has paid us a visit here in Pennsylvania in the middle of November. Welcome to Weather World tonight. I'm Marisa Ferger alongside Bill Syrett. And Bill, we are in the thick of things here right now.
Yes, we are. An eighth of a mile visibility and heavy snow and blowing snow. Other parts of the state equally bad. Changing over to rain and sleet, southwestern and southeastern Pennsylvania, but all in all, a pretty major storm.
That's right, and major so much so that many highways across Pennsylvania, highways and interstates, are undergoing some speed restrictions right now. I think it's best, if it's snowing where you are or sleeting, best to stay indoors tonight, but many places are closed.
Yeah, I don't know what's open, to tell you the truth. The University Park campus closed today at 11:30, and many Penn State branch campuses have closed, Commonwealth campuses. Businesses, roads even, are closing. This is a big one.
This is a big one. And to learn about more of what to expect for the rest of this evening and through tomorrow, we're going to send it downstairs now to the studio where Ben Reppert and Jon Nese have the latest information.
Hey, thanks, Marissa. Thanks so much, Bill. And you heard Bill mention it, University Park, they pulled the plug, sent everyone home late this morning. But here, we almost all congregated. It's all hands on deck for our first major winter storm of the season.
Indeed. And why don't we start, Ben, by taking a look at some representative snow totals. This is as of mid-afternoon. Cashtown, Adams County, Altoona, Blair County, about 7 inches. These places, in many of them, it's still snowing, particularly the northern locations, such as Altoona and State College. So we're going to add a little bit more to these totals. Another number, Downingtown, Chester County had 5 inches. We may end up in the top 5 in State College, where you need at least 9.5 inches to get to the top 4, actually, and we will add a few more inches here in State College, as Ben will show you right now with the latest radar.
Yeah, thanks very much, John. And all throughout the afternoon, we've been following and tracking this system. And some of these features that you can see on the radar here, these banded features, like right there, that band of very dark blue returns on the radar imagery this afternoon. Areas that got underneath some bands like this picked up a couple of inches of snow per hour, at least the rates of how quickly this snow was falling. But now late this afternoon, there are a few radar trends that we are watching. The first of which, the heaviest bands, those darkest blues, are starting to lift off to the north. And now there's actually a dry slot that is approaching Pennsylvania from the south. And what we're really focusing on this evening is where does this dry slot go, and also where does the precipitation change over from snow to something else, as it has in these shadings of pink, like across the highlands and now sneaking toward the I-95 corridor. In any case today, the cold air did hang on a little bit longer than some of what the guidance was suggesting. So in any case, that's why some of these snow totals, particularly across southern and southeastern Pennsylvania today, have been a little bit more robust than what was anticipated this time last night. John?
Yeah, and Ben, we thought we would show you one of the more unusual radar representations. This is a fairly new product from the WSR 88D National Weather Service radars. It's called correlation coefficient. Essentially, it's measuring the uniformity of particles in a particular part of the atmosphere. Translated, where you see the purples and the maroons, this is where the radar beam is detecting pretty much just snow. But where you're starting to see the oranges and the yellows, these are areas where particles are starting to be mixed. So you'll have some sleet mixing with some raindrops and mixing with some snowflakes. And so this has gradually been moving north with time, the area of mixed precipitation, and pretty much west of the Allegheny Front, it's been like that much of the day. Now we have one other product I'd like to show you. This was a computer model forecast from this morning for Harrisburg. What you're looking at is the depth of the atmosphere here. Anywhere you see color, the temperature's below freezing. Now, do you see this ribbon here? This is the vertical coordinate here is pressure, but I can tell you that this is about from 5,000 up to, say, 7,000 feet. And lurking at that level in the atmosphere all day has been a zone where the temperature was just within a few degrees of freezing. And depending on whether you're above freezing or below freezing or right at freezing, that creates the precipitation type problem. I think we're going to toss it back over to Ben now.
Thank you, John. And something else we've been watching throughout the entire day today has not just been the temperature profile at the surface. As John just showed you on that map, some things that are going on aloft also play an important role in what's going on in the atmosphere. And so first thing this morning, now we are looking at surface temperature. This is down at the ground. The lightest blue here is at least below freezing. Darker blue is in the 20s. Purples are actually temperatures in the teens. And with a big area of high pressure over New England that we've been talking about, that really set the stage to keep this cold air locked in. And if we move the clock forward, you notice that through the day as precipitation moved north and intensified, temperatures across much of eastern Pennsylvania dropped by several degrees from around freezing back into the 20s, really allowing for this tricky evening commute for most of the region. And you notice that throughout the day, even to the late afternoon, that cold air wedge, sub-freezing air has been remaining strong through much of the region. And in fact, that's why some of these other locations, if we take a look at some of the biggest November storms elsewhere across the state, Harrisburg, you could easily be getting into the top 5. In fact, you probably already have. Up to 15 inches of snow has fallen there in a previous November back in '53. And also now if we take a look at Philadelphia, Philadelphia has made it into their top 4 November snows. And in fact, these are the biggest storms in Philadelphia that have been of at least an inch. There have only been 4 if you include today, 2.4 inches as of earlier this afternoon. So this storm, again, as we've been saying, and if you haven't noticed by now, fairly unusual on a widespread level across most of Pennsylvania so early in the season.
Yeah, generally overperformed in the south central part of the state and the southeastern part of the state. The western part of the state, west of the Alleghenies, has been right about what we thought.
Okay, so we are going to take a quick break. We'll be back in just a few seconds with more on the storm.
Thanks very much, John and Ben. It's a team effort out here tonight. Go ahead.
And yeah, so you just caught a glimpse of them now. John and I got you from the past to the present. Now we are going to head on over to Rob Lydick, and he's here now with a look as to what the weather's going to be doing as we get into the evening and beyond. Rob, take it away.
Yeah, it's been busy in the Weather Center throughout the day, John and Ben. We were still watching that snow falling. I wanted to give you a visual depiction of what we saw out there today. This is a look at the time lapse in Altoona. The precipitation began with a bit of mix this morning, and then right around that 10 o'clock hour, as we were saying in our forecast, boom, that's when it turned over to snow, seeing some of that accumulation even on some of the trees out there this evening. And of course, road conditions continue to deteriorate as we head through at least the rest of tonight. Here's a look at Harrisburg, another different perspective where we saw some of that mixing that John was talking about earlier. And this afternoon, well, can't see a whole bunch out there right now on the camera lens, still looking at some icing and also dealing with some snow and mix out there too. Meanwhile, in Pittsburgh, most of the precipitation has been liquid, maybe a little bit of icing out there earlier today, but not much in terms of accumulation thus far. As far as watches and warnings are concerned throughout the state, we're still watching a wide swath here. You see a lot of the pink indicating a winter storm warning in effect through at least tomorrow morning. Other areas shaded over there in the purple, looking at a winter storm watch, or winter weather advisory rather, still looking at the potential for some slick travel in those places as well. Now the snowfall, 27 degrees in State College. That's why it's actually been a fluffier kind of snow in some places. Meanwhile, those temperatures creeping just above freezing in Philly, 29 right now in York. We're looking at temperatures near the freezing mark along the western fringe of the state, 34 in Indiana, 35 degrees right now in Erie, where some mixing will be likely as we head through the night. Here's a look at the radar perspective, putting this in motion again. Ben was pointing out some of those heavier bands. You can see more of the mixing occurring, though, across southwestern portions of the state, also southeastern portions of PA. Still looking at some wraparound moisture that will be possible. So we're not done with the snow yet. We'll be adding more snow here overnight tonight and likely during at least the first part of the day tomorrow, too, at least in western PA. As we take a look at the wider perspective, interesting to point out this tongue of wraparound snow that you can see that kind of held on there as that system continued to coil. Meanwhile, the energy being transferred to another area of low pressure that will eventually be riding up along the coastline, also bringing some heavy snow to parts of New England as we head into tomorrow. So the setup for this evening calls for that area of low pressure to slowly drift its way northeastward here, and we're looking at more wraparound moisture. Eventually, we'll see some of that moisture begin to taper off here, but we'll see that snow fill back in later on as we head into tomorrow morning on the western part of Pennsylvania. And the setup for tomorrow evening calls for that area of low pressure to be well off to our north and east. Still looking at some cloud cover, though, that will linger into the first part of this weekend. So here's a forecast model. I actually looked at the RPM model today and thought it had a pretty good guidance of what we're expecting as far as precipitation types are concerned. You can see that mixing down towards Philadelphia. Also likely seeing some mixing, though, in the western, especially southwestern parts of PA. Still dealing with some snow here overnight. This is right around the midnight hour, and also some mixing across eastern parts of the state. Heading into the overnight hours, eventually you see some tapering. However, we will still be dealing with some scattered snow showers here, filling back in with wraparound moisture behind that area of low pressure. So 27, our forecast low in State College tonight. Winds will be shifting as that low tracks off to the north and east. 31 near the capital region. Warmer with some mix and even some rainfall possible down towards Philly. Now, heading through the day tomorrow, we start things off at 7 o'clock with scattered snow showers that might be possible, especially across eastern PA. And then we're going to be looking at more wraparound moisture, holding onto the cloud cover, and more scattered snow showers here in western parts of the state. Maybe even a little bit of mix here as we head to the far northern areas. But for the most part, temperatures tomorrow climb only into the upper 30s here in State College. Still slick, still likely dealing with some tricky travel, especially during the first part of the day, so plan ahead for that. Winds could be gusty on the backside of this system. 45 degrees tomorrow, so any leftover mix and snow will eventually begin to wrap up here. Then we're looking at some scattered snow showers still possible across western parts of PA. 40 in Erie, 39 tomorrow near Pittsburgh. Here's the map that everybody really wants to see, the storm total snowfall. So this includes what has already fallen, 8 to 12 inches plus possible in State College, places off to the north, 4 to 8 inches down towards the capital region. Again, many places already picking that up, 1 to 3 inches over towards Pittsburgh. Then as we head through the rest of the beginning of our weekend, still looking at some lingering cloud cover here in western parts of PA, 40 in State College, some sunshine the further south and east you go. We'll be back in just a moment with more.
Thanks very much, Rob. And so this storm for the last several days has been a forecasting challenge.
Yes.
And a challenging day today to get around Pennsylvania. We figure, why don't we take one last look at the radar tonight before we leave you?
Right, indeed. Let's go to that radar. And most of the state's still snowing. And that's true from State College, the Central Mountains, into the Northeast. Though, as we pointed out earlier, the heaviest band appears to be translating now into northern Pennsylvania. And if you look into the South Central Mountains, you see some breaks. And that's kind of a dry slot wrapping into this storm. And that seems headed for the Central Mountains. So the suspicion here is that from here on, the snow will likely taper off in central Pennsylvania and still mixing in the west, and gradually going over to a mix in the south and east.
Yep, so the changeover or lack of changeover and also that dry slot, those are really the key factors as we continue through this evening. So we want to thank you for being with us tonight. A special thanks to Jon Nese for joining me at the desk, and a huge shout out to all the help behind the scenes, Joshua Hollenbeck, Laura Shedd, Mike Susko, Marisa Ferger, and Bill Syrett up on the roof, and Rob Lydick. I'm Ben Reppert. Have a great evening. Stay safe, stay at home, and have a good night.